Welcome back to the Homes on Homes podcast. I'm Mike Holmes. I started this podcast to keep educating people on how to make it right, just like I've been doing for over 20 years on television. Here, you'll find raw, unscripted conversations with experts on building healthy homes, choosing quality products, safety at home, and more. Let's get started. Welcome to another Homes on Homes podcast. I'm a little excited today because we're going to be talking about skilled trades, getting into the skilled trades, what we should do, the pros, the cons. And right now there's a lot of cons happening. I have on my left, Frank Melecca from Judith Nyman, and that's as far as I'm concerned. It's a college, but it's not a college. You remember Homes Family Effect? We came in and we did Judith Nyman.
You did.
And that was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and
2001.
Yeah, that was...
it was in 2001?
Yeah.
See how time flies?
No, was it?
Homes Family Effect.
2021.
Oh, I was going to say,
sorry.
what?
21, sorry. I saw it
Still
yesterday.
in high school.
I saw it yesterday. Yeah.
Trying
It
to
was
follow
2021 where you came to Judith Nyman to do the whole Shomes.
That's when we
Family
were all
Effect.
shut down. And
You
fucked
got
up.
me.
Right before COVID, yeah, we finished the rooms and then we went to Christmas break and then we never
And then I
went
flew
back.
to Vancouver and we got
Yes.
shut down.
Yeah,
Okay.
2 years. 2 years
That
of
was in
shutdown.
2021. Oh my
2021, yeah. We had a great experience. You know, it was a real boost for the community in Brampton, also the school for Peel District School Board. So I really appreciate it. We're still using all the equipment. We're still using all the shops. Ontario Masonry helped us out with the masonry section. So we're trying to funnel kids through their program.
Okay, I've got a lot to talk about that.
All right.
On your right, we have Shawn Smith. And the name of your company?
Is Logicaldox.
Logicaldox. Now, I know Sherry, because I saw something about you online where you had this head thing on.
I had a big headset on, yeah.
And you were doing what?
I was doing virtual reality. So I have met Shawn before. I went to his office and he was introducing me to what they do. And it's a lot of what they do is trying to help involve youth, women, or anyone in the trades really, because we do have a shortage of people in the trades. And you are training before you go onto a job site for these different skilled trades.
So it's a virtual reality training.
So I had to lift myself in a bucket to a power line and I had to do all the work. And it walks you through it. It tells you what it's going to be in reality. There's safety equipment required. It was really cool.
She did a great job, by the way. Just
Thank
so
you.
So
I
you were
passed.
standing there, and in the virtual world, you lift yourself into a bucket up to the power line.
I was standing in the room, but I wasn't in the room. I was somewhere else.
Was it cool?
Have you ever done virtual reality?
No, everything.
That's going to change.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be.
I'm not
You gotta
kidding.
try
I
it.
have
You gotta try it
absolutely.
once.
Absolutely.
The stupid games that my kids got, we go for Christmas and they're all in virtual.
Oh, yeah, we did
world.
that.
That was hilarious.
We did the walk the plank thing.
Look at it that you can go to school now in a virtual reality world to learn the trades. That's exciting.
It is.
So today I want to talk all about the trades and getting into the trades. You know how many emails we get and people that stop me on the street in the big box stores. I'm trying to get my kids into the trade. Mike, you're the man. How do we get them in the trades? And I tell them, go to college, not just university. College is great for this. We talk about different colleges around the area especially that we work with, and much like Judith Nyman. But I'm getting some backlash because I've also talked to people that, okay, my kid went to college, did all this, and then they can't get a job. Are you seeing something with this?
Yeah, we're seeing the same thing. We're seeing a lot of our kids going through the trades and going through some of our programs, but then, everyone's saying that we need skilled trade workers, but when they're going out to actually try to get a job, it's hard for them to get a job. We find it harder with unions to try to get kids into the unions. Like some of the unions are really restricted on how kids actually get involved in the union. Like somebody has to sponsor you before you actually can become part of the union. So that's another issue. Construction's really slow right now, so that's not helping either. But we do see it. We also see it. Yeah, we also see it that getting kids into the skilled trades, interested in the skilled trades, is become a big issue for us too.
All my life, I have been pushing everyone to get into trades for one reason. My own daughter, like Sherry, get into the trades, and it's because you will always have work.
Right.
Always. We got more houses being built every single day. We have more people moving into the country every single day. Then we have all the old houses and old buildings that need to be fixed. Bridges, roads, highways. Like this is nonstop.
For sure.
So it's been out there and working with the government that I've done many live events with, and working with them to try and push the next generation to get in the trades. I find this a bit of an issue right now because we know we don't have enough, right, Sherry?
Yeah.
We're seeing more women get in the trades, which
We
I
are.
love.
There is starting to be a difference. However, it is still slow going. At least it is growing. I do think that this starts at home. In order to encourage your kids to become involved in any skilled trade, it does have to start at home, because if you aren't aware of any of these jobs, which I wasn't, I didn't know it was involved under the skilled trade umbrella until after high school.
Sure.
Like I was doing it with Skills Canada. I had no idea that clay work was considered a skilled trade, or baking. I didn't know anything about that. A pastry chef, a hairstylist, everything. Cosmetology,
yeah.
It's
Cooking,
all
Yes.
Cooking,
Yeah,
everything,
cooking
yeah.
for
it's
sure.
all a skilled trade. I mean, I couldn't bake to save my life, so I could, now that I think about it, it makes a lot of sense.
Russell Peters also went to your school
Yes,
for a chef, right?
Yes,
He went,
he became he
that.
he left his original high school and then came to our school, and then was in the chef training program with Freddie Kohler, was one of our teachers that retired. They stayed together. They're still friends. And yeah, if it wasn't for him, he always says it when it comes to our graduations, if it wasn't for that chef training class, he doesn't think he would have graduated, because that he really took a liking to the skilled trade. He's not a chef now. He might be able to cook, but I'm not sure if he's a chef.
Well,
but
he's a funny chef.
He's a funny chef, but he
Different
really,
skilled trade.
yeah, it really stuck with him, and it got him through high school, where maybe where he was at his other school, he probably wouldn't have got through. Right. So
Well, when I was talking, that's exactly what he said. He loved it. He loved going to school there. You know, when I was a kid, I remember that, you know, I had sheet metal class. I had woodworking.
did?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Whole neck.
Welding.
Any of these
welding
things.
class. I
7, 8,
remember welding something, and I didn't have my glove on, and I grabbed the metal. It was one of the more stupid things, you know, little accidents
other
that
side,
we do.
yeah.
We get a lot of boo-boos on
That's what
site.
we do, boo-boos, right? It's in the trades. But we try we try to be safe about what we're doing so we don't get hurt. I want to get back to the point that we are pushing, the government's pushing, the world's pushing. We need the next generation into the trades. We know this, and it's becoming an issue. Welding, I think, is one of the biggest trades out there that you can get in, get a job, because I find I'm even seeing women get into
A
welding.
lot more women tend to be really good at welding.
And you make good money
they're better
doing
than
it.
they're better
Actually, my
than that.
niece just
Attention
got
to
her
detail.
welding certificate.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yes, I'm very good at it.
Good for her. I am not good at it. I tried.
Electricians. I've seen women getting into becoming an electrician.
For sure.
What are some of the union trades that you're finding to be a problem for kids to get into?
Well, the plumbing trade is one of the ones where it's very. They say it's high in demand for trying to get skilled trade workers in, but it's hard to get in with a plumber. Electrical is saturated. Everybody wants to be an electrician. Those two are the most it's hard to get into, and the least popular, I would say, is masonry, because
Really?
it's hard work. You're working.
It's more
all
labor
day,
intensive.
It's more labor intensive. So that one's a real hard sell for us when it comes to getting kids interested.
But just hearing that tells me you should look into get into the Masons.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if no one's getting in there, you've got a job.
Well, Ontario Masonry offers their model is earn while you learn, and they start off, if you're 18 years old and you go through our program, and when you get a direct apprenticeship, they're starting off at $24 an hour, $25
Wow,
an
that's
hour,
amazing.
and then they get a raise in 3 months, and they also get a job. So they don't have to look for anything. All they have to do is show up and actually make sure that they're there every day on time and willing to work, and they come out with a job. They come out, getting paid. Right? It's a great career. It's just it's hard to get the young generation to understand. Maturity has a lot to do with it also. I feel that a lot of our kids, once they get to while they're 18, they're not very mature, but a lot of them come back at 22, 23 and say, hey, sir, can you help me out? Is there a trade you can get me into? Do you know anyone who's hiring?
That's
that
the part I
maturity.
love, because when you're young and foolish, even though I was doing the trades when I was so young, first baseman I did, I was 12 years old, and then my dad kept pushing everyone, hey, hire my son. And when I was 19, I ran a company. But that's a whole different thing. I'm finding the generation now, they don't know what they want to do.
Right.
So let them, I wish that all the classes were not taken out of school. welding, sheet metal, all the stuff that I had, framing, anything that they pulled it out because one, it was dangerous, people were getting hurt. Two, they were trying to lower the cost of the schooling, and then they're now pushing university and college for trades. Okay. And there's pros and cons to everything. And I don't want to say this is a con. It may be hard to get into become an electrician or a plumber, and easier to become a mason and or a welder, et cetera, hair cutting, serving, chefs, because there's many trades. There's 47 trades in World Skills, or there was the last time we went to World Skills.
You're right.
And that, the whole world gets together and competes just like the Olympics. And that's another story that we should talk about. Is
Yeah, for sure.
that should be on television.
Yes.
It's
It
like
That is really
It should.
cool.
when we go there and put the medals on their neck, wow,
Yes,
it is
the pride.
exhilarating. It's exciting. It is a rock show. It's literally
Yeah,
a
it
rock
is.
show.
I'm actually going to be with them in May.
No one knows
yeah?
about these things. Yeah.
Mike, just to maybe to add a little bit to the conversation, our main clients we work with are the skilled trade communities. So electrical workers, elevator workers, iron workers, you name it.
I meant to ask you that. You cover in virtual reality almost all trades?
Becoming more and more. It's been a journey. Because in the skilled trade community, typically they have been relatively adverse to technology adoption. So it's the 40-year-old curriculum, kind of death by PowerPoint type scenario, where we know youth today, that's not how they learn. And that doesn't attract them into the trade either. But so it's been a process, but there's an aha moment when you're dealing with, typically the heads of education or training on the trade side, that when you sit with them, they go, oh, what do we need virtual reality? That's game. That's a game. You say, yeah, we're actually gamifying training. What a better way to do this, to immerse somebody into that. And they kind of are non-believers, and you pull them through. The government's spending tens and hundreds of millions of dollars focused on not just technology adoption, but obviously attracting youth into apprentice programs. But when you're working with the trainers and the curriculum individuals, and they see the first content come out, so we become experts in the trades, because you have to, right? To create something, doing virtual reality, there's all kinds of gaming studios out there. There's no gaming studios focused on skilled trades and skilled trade deliverables and so on. So we get into it, we understand it really well. And then when they see the first version coming out, which Sherry saw, it comes out and it's like, wow. And they have aha moments and they go, okay, we get it.
So when I first heard this, let's go back to the trades of when I was a kid. The saying all my life is, you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Yes.
Right? You can't break the pattern. No, minimums, you got to do it this way. And I was the guy that was out there going, don't put up vapor barrier if you use spray foam. You have to use vapor barrier if it's open cell, but if it's closed cell, you can't put a vapor barrier against the vapor barrier. And it became a battle working with, I gotta admit it, with the building inspectors out there, because they weren't educated on it. And then we started creating the programs with BASF at the time and showing the certification, the engineering behind it. And it finally changed. Now building inspectors know all about it. And I never want to blame the system. It's when something new comes out. So when I first heard of this, I was thinking, virtual reality to learn in the trades. And then it hit me. I'm thinking, okay, my son, when I was a kid, I'm thinking he's never going to get in the trades because come on, I bought you a toolbox, come work with me. And 15 minutes in, 30 minutes in, he'd be like, Dad, can I go play my games? And I know what he wants to do. He would have been a black belt and a ninja and Nintendo or whatever those freaking games are, because he was a professional. And then I see it. Well, the kids are so used to it. Why not through temptation? Because we've pulled it out of the school. Temptation of touching wood, touching metal, welding, etc., even electrical and plumbing for that matter. And now someone that's younger can play with this. You got on a bucket and went up to electrical
and
line.
it's so different. But what you were saying is, a lot of the time I find in the trades, we are kind of stuck. Like, this is how we learned, that's how their father learned, and that's how we're going to teach it, which is not always a driving force to get a lot of the youth into the trades. So like, oh, that doesn't seem fun. I'm not interested in that. But to be able to appeal to them by showing it, hey, we're going to do virtual reality. It's not a video game, but it seems a lot more interesting. And it's, my biggest thing is I do think it's a lot safer. We were talking about working the elevator shafts, which he has a story. He'll tell you about that. I couldn't believe it. But instead of just throwing someone onto a site to learn at different heights that could potentially be very unsafe, you're going to train in virtual reality, know that you're okay, know that you're comfortable, and then take that to a construction site.
Let's think about that. A pilot goes into a virtual reality world of flying a plane, landing a plane, and they're put into emergency situations to figure out how to get out of that and how not to crash the plane. And they do it safely, and it's logical. So when you marry this into the world of construction, I think this is absolutely brilliant. That, can I get in a tractor with virtual reality and learn how to use a tractor?
There's really no limit, and that's when you incorporate, tactile items with virtual reality. So Sherry was in virtual reality, which was just virtual reality. You can incorporate like mixed reality, so that you have crane operators. So the crane operators, IUOE, have been for years now in simulators.
They're touching controls.
So they're touching. But it's a simulator still. So pilots have been doing it for 30 years. They're doing it in the medical practice now for 20 years. That they're doing surgeries in virtual reality. And by the way, if you do something wrong, the person doesn't die.
Yeah, you're not going to
do
kill
it over
somebody.
again. The other, the big attribute that comes out of this too is that you can pull information or data from the training. So my question always to any of the trainers is, how successful is your training? The standard answer is, well, we've been doing it for 40 years.
Yeah,
of course it's successful.
fine.
And by the way, we're not replacing traditional training 100%. We're trying to better training now. That's all we're doing. So by adding immersion into the process. But in asking the question about saying, how do you know how successful you are? That became the standard answer was, well, because it's been successful. Look at all the people we put in the field. But are they ready to be in the field? And so in virtual reality, which again, it's just technology. There's so many different attributes. You can have alternate reality where you can be in the field and have support elements that you don't have today to make you safer as well and better trained. But it's the data you can pull back now and really analyze and understand. Shawn Smith, apprentice in a program, is he successful? Is he ready to go to site? You can pull data now that tells you that and says, okay, you know what? He was focused in this area. I don't think he's ready quite yet. Let's retrain him, or let's focus on his training there to make sure when he goes to site, he's ready and he's safe. The story of that Sherry was alluding to is the elevator workers are one of our big clients. They're very advanced thinkers, from their trade schools to the locals. And so the individual who was running the trade school 30 years ago, he was an apprentice. He got his training, quote unquote, and went to site the first day. So the journey person there said, okay, you jump on the top of the elevator car. We're going to do some work on it. It's in lockout mode, so don't worry about it. He jumps on top of the elevator car. It wasn't in lockout mode. Somebody pressed the button. Elevator goes screaming up the shaft.
And he's on top of it.
He's on top of it.
First day.
First day on the job. His immediate thought is, I'm going to die. Right? Journey person, thank God, is in the cab screaming at him. Eventually you could hear him and say, press the red button, because that's the emergency stop. And he thought at that very moment, and he tells this story very personally because he went on to be the head of the trade school. He was also the guy that had to deliver news to parents when their sons or daughters died. And he said on that day, he said, if I ever get to the training side, this will not be repeated. So they did a lot of work on their curriculum, but then we started talking about e-learning tools as a first stage, right? That's where you can do it on a computer screen and so on. But it's the immersion that was the next level. And he was kind of a doubter. and then when he saw the first application coming out. So, we're in elevator shafts. I got to get you in there. It's just, it's so lifelike, and the work can be done, and you can track.
I actually am excited to try
It
this.
is really cool.
It's way beyond the cool factor. This is fundamental curriculum advancement to ensure that people are ready for sight and safe.
On the cool factor point, because that's exactly what I was thinking when I heard about this. Are you finding that the kids interested in trying this and excited about trying it? Are you seeing this happening?
Well,
we've had
that's right.
We've met them. I've met Shawn prior. Well, his company prior.
Yep.
They actually came to. It was with Hammerheads, I think.
Yes.
With Hammerheads, and Hammerheads brought some of the virtual reality, and it was Ironworker
Into the school?
into the school.
That
and then
was going to be my next
And
question.
then from
Absolutely.
that, we actually, once we did the Ironworker one, we actually went and one of our companies, one of our partners, provided us with virtual welding and virtual auto body. So you actually put on the glasses, you pick up your stick, and you actually virtually weld and stuff like that. And the reason we found it, why it was good, was because material costs us way less for kids to want to try. The other thing, some kids don't like sparks flying around. They don't like the smell. They don't like all these other things that are going on and the loud noises. Where this is actually virtual reality, you're trying it, and you can see them welding. And then, like Shawn said, there's a curriculum to it. It's not that they're playing a game. It actually marks them.
They're learning.
And, they're learning.
Yep.
You can actually take that and say, okay, well, you passed stage 1. Let's go to stage 2. We actually, even now, just one of our other partners, Merritt, Ontario, we've actually have 4 simulators that you can actually drive a crane, you can drive a skid steer, you can drive an excavator, and same thing, right? It's not them just jumping on the excavator and playing around. It actually marks them. And then one of the reasons they did that was because imagine you wanna drive an excavator. You're the owner of a company. You're gonna hand over a teenager $500,000 machine. Here's the keys. Try it out.
Or do you have a spare one
Right,
available?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Right
that's
there.
true
Right.
too.
So the training, what they're doing is a lot of these companies now are using that form of training because again, it cut costs, and you're not going to give somebody a machine that they've never tried or they have no idea what to do with. And it's very realistic. It's like you're sitting in the machine, or you're sitting in a welding booth, or you're sitting, spraying cars. It's so realistic.
It is. I was screaming, I think, doing it.
Yeah,
She
it's
was.
incredible.
I'm pretty loud.
It's incredible.
She gets excited when she likes something. I remember when she jumped in the crane.
Yeah.
We were
I love
putting the pool over the house, and I said to the crane operator, I said, "Can you let Sherry play?" And she was so excited. What I liked about it is it gave Sherry another opportunity, because I'll never forget this day. At the end of it, she goes, "I could do this for a living."
Yeah.
It's
So-
the exposure of
Yeah,
it.
of
People don't
course.
have that kind of
Temptation.
exposure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're like,
Temptation.
I would like that. I'd be interested
Yeah,
in that.
and where would you get that exposure? Like
Yeah.
you'd have to wait till you graduate and then try to get
Yeah.
into it. Well,
Sure.
now in grade 9, you're like for us in grade 9, boys and girls, they're all trying this at grade 9. So their exposure is, I love welding, I hate welding.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to try the real welding. I like the virtual welding. So it's exposure at a young age.
Which is really important.
Well, and the
Yeah.
beauty of it is now. So talking about the impact factors, they go home and tell their parents,
Yeah.
Yes.
and the parents go, Whereas that would have never happened before.
No.
Yeah.
And so either they'd have their child on you got to go to university or college to get a degree to do X, as opposed to why not look at this route? This is it's kind of a pivot point now, that tipping point where now the students get excited in the environment that they get excited in, and now they talk about it more, and now they want to investigate it more. So
Well, if they're not excited, they're not going to talk
no,
about it.
of course not.
They go home, "What'd you do today at school?" It was okay.
whatever.
Yeah.
They don't.
No, they
but
talk to the parents.
Something
Absolutely.
new. Oh, this is what I did today. I remember you telling me about the
Yeah,
bucket thing.
Yeah, I did.
And I thought, okay, but it never really clicked in. And that was going to be my next question. Is it in the schools yet? And you're already testing it in the schools.
Yeah.
Yes?
Well, and I was in the office with you the very next day. You guys were going into a school to it was Judith Nyman. I didn't know that.
So the school side, by the way, there's a lot of discussion going on behind the scenes right now about doing something broad-based across Ontario.
Thank you. That's what was in my next
Okay.
question. Thank you.
So this is
you're talking young school, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Grade
Absolutely.
6, 7, 8.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah,
middle?
you want to entrench the thought
middle
process at that point and the exposure at that point. So a big talk track. Frank alluded to the Hammerheads program that's run by Central Ontario Building Trades in Toronto. James St. John, a great advocate for getting disadvantaged at-risk youth into the skilled trades plus. But they want to take this, intensify the program focus now to take it across the board to the schools and get that foundation set, because the government wants that. The government's spending money. Big question I have with the government, because we talk with the government about this, and so you're spending tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. How do you know your money is going to good use?
No data.
Like you're getting a return. Like what's that data? So we come back to data. I'm not trying to talk data because we're in the technology space too. I'm more a business guy. So my question always to anybody is, if you're going to do this, like let's go through the why do you need to do it, figure that out, and then how do you know at the end? So in dealing with the with the change that's happening now at the governmental level and so on and so forth, that's not going to change the dynamic at all when it comes to the investment they've made. That will continue, but it's now how can we make those directives that much more effective?
Yeah. This is going to be a hit because they pulled all these classrooms out, from when I was a kid and no one's playing with tools anymore. They don't have that temptation. But if they bring this back into school and kids get to play with this, I can, learn in, middle school, like you said. I can learn to weld. I can play with electrical, play with plumbing, play with big equipment. And that's going to excite them. That's going to create more temptation that I could do this. Just like Sherry said when she got on that big crane, she said, I would have done this as a career.
Sure. I mean, I wish I was exposed to a lot more. Not that I wouldn't be a contractor. I was obviously kind of guided into this career, and I never thought it was going to be a viable career path for me, as a woman mostly. But I didn't have a lot of those classes available when I was in school. I had one shop class, so I think they did one auto body shop class and one I don't know, they called it shop class. So I used a bandsaw and like a table saw and things like that. But in order to even get into that class, I had to do half a semester of home ec. So I had to learn how to run a household and take care of a baby and cook food, which was something that I wasn't interested in. So I feel like you were already running into all these issues. Like, why do I want to work in the trades then if I have to do something that I have no interest in at all to even look at it? And I think now thinking back, I feel like that was schools trying to create interest anywhere, like you're trying something out, but you don't have those opportunities. So the sooner you can get any of that training available, you're understanding the different career options you do have. I had a point. I already forgot it. Unfortunately, there was something else I was going to say.
Do you have a point?
Probably not.
Here, I'll jump in while you think. I want to go back to what Frank was talking about earlier about, kids coming through and then resistance in the environment, especially at the union level. So we work with a lot of the unions, both their business managers and the training side of things. They realize they have a problem. Like they realize they have a marketing problem, right? So when you talk about attraction to the skilled trades, part of the non-attraction sometimes is if I go to a union, well, aren't unions bad?
That's true.
What's a union going to do for me today? I'm going to pay dues. They've had all that disparaging talk about them. There are some awesome people in the union space that are trying to do the right things, right? And that's from the training side, obviously, making sure that they're training their people effectively and they're being safer out there and so on. Like they are trying to get more innovative, and we're kind of an advisory to them, not just on technology. Technology is a tool. It's more on the business side of the union. Like, where do you guys want to take this? So you have gaps, yet there's resistance to bring individuals in. Like that doesn't make any sense. It's counterintuitive, right? So how do you break that barrier to make sure that the unions now understand that as an issue, market themselves more effectively, and create those alliances and at the school level and drawing the apprentices in, right? That's the issue. And I've some of the business managers on the union side, they're individuals who've been on the tools and now they're running a big operation because they've been elected in and they've taken that directive on. And it's kind of working with them to say, these are the issues of the day. How are we going to address that too? Money throwing at it's not always the answer.
And money doesn't work. Like for us, what we've noticed is some of our non-unionized companies, what they're doing is some of our partners, what we've done is we're like, let us take care of all the training for you. Let us do just like tool identification, material identification, because we don't want you to waste your time. So out of a class of 22, are we going to give you 22 gas fitters? No. We may give you 3.
Sure.
But from that 3, we know that those are our top 3. So we're trying to work with a lot of our partners to say, hey, give us some of your curriculum. Let us teach it in grade 9.
Yeah.
Let us start,
Great
you know,
idea.
scaffolding some of this knowledge.
Yes.
And then by grade 11, they might say, hey, listen, you know what? I don't really want to be a plumber. I don't really want to be an electrician. I want to be a baker. So then instead of them paying like some of these private colleges, you're paying a lot of money to realize that, you know, you're 18 years old, you've never touched a tool in your life, you're coming out of high school and you're saying,
I changed
I
my
want
mind.
to, yeah, I want to be a plumber.
Yeah.
Well, you've never touched a pipe wrench, you've never touched the pipe. Now you're paying somebody to do all this stuff, and then you realize, you know, this isn't really for me. So that's what it is. Like we've been trying to talk to unions to say, listen, this really has to start in grade 6. Grade 7,
Thank you.
grade 8. Because when I first started, I wanted to run a masonry shop. That was prior to the show. I worked with Ontario Masonry, and I actually went to Windsor, where they had one of their shops set up. They had the elementary school attached to their high school. They had kids coming in there in grade 6.
Really?
Grade 6, 7, and 8 for
phenomenal.
1 hour
That's
for
great.
1 hour a day.
That's
Their classroom teacher would go off and mark and do whatever they had to do, and the high school teacher would teach them masonry. So imagine these little kids, you could barely see their body because they were in these smocks and their boots were up here, and they were slinging mud that it was just so much fun for them. And
Yeah.
and from that course, he built a full 6-section, because we work in sections, full 6-section course, because they started in grade 6, they started in grade
amazing.
7, they started in grade 8, right?
Well, there's
And
the
that's-
benefit. If
yeah.
people are leaving high school and then trying to get into college and or university to get into the trades, they're already, and I want to call it too late because I never want to say don't do it. Always go,
Yeah.
especially if you like it. But it's almost too late. At grade 6,
Yep.
if you just looked at Mason, then you'd only see Mason. But in grade 6, if we can do this, where they get to play with all kinds of things, then they know by the time they leave high school, I want to go into this trade.
Well, you get into high school and immediately like, what do you want to do when you're older?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Grade
Yeah.
9.
I haven't been exposed to anything. I've been doing math. Like I have
My parents
no
may
idea.
be saying something to me,
Yeah.
but I don't
That's
know what I want.
all
Yeah.
you have, the knowledge behind it. And I remember you doing all these career days, but they don't give you any incentive to be driven towards any career at all, I find.
Yeah.
So the exposure at such an early age is super important.
Yeah, that's why we do a rotation. It's called a rotation. So we have 18 trade shops now. And so what we do is in grade 9, they get to try all the shops.
That's cool.
So they go through a rotation, 2 weeks. They do a 2-week. It's very, very quick, but it's just to get them familiar in the shops. They're looking
getting
at what they
their
have
feet
to do. Right. And then in grade 10, 11, 12, 12 is their pathway year. So then we just focus on one of them. But in grade 9, I could say we're probably the only school that does it, that they get to try everything.
Yeah.
Baking, cosmetology, auto body, design tech, all of it. And then they decide, they say, hey, listen, you know what? I really like this. Let me try it in grade 10. Let me try it in grade 11.
Which is the beginning of their
Their
future.
beginning of their pathway, yes, which we're trying to build the pathway for them in the skilled trades.
When we talked about the virtual reality training, we talked about data and being able to draw information out of it. There are very compelling stats on the training side now of the effectiveness of this training immersion. So immersion training typically is geared at where it's hard to replicate training. We talked about the bucket truck.
Yeah.
Right? So the IBW wanted to do that in virtual reality because they could never get a bucket truck to do the training. Like there was
Okay.
nothing available, right?
Yeah.
To Guild Electric or whomever, right? So that was the initial part of it. But the overall initiative was how effective is the training and what's the net effect when somebody comes out of the training? So again, that portion of the training is part of the overall curriculum.
Right.
But the stats are staggering. So when you look at the speed of learning in immersion has been showcased to be like up to 5, 6, 7 times faster.
No way.
The retention rate, here's the key thing, right? You learn the skill, you do it there, do you take it to the field, especially right away when you're young in your career
Yeah.
and so on. Well, the retention rates are 250, 300, 400 times
Amazing.
what would be typical training. Why? Because you're immersed into an environment. Take Sherry.
You're not reading a book.
She's on the top of a super stack. She knows she's not on the top of super stack, but she's on the top of the super stack when in that VR headset. So when that training is done and you're not reading a book, that's right, and you're immersed into it. So it's real life. They take that now to the field, And so now you have an individual who is ready for the job. Obviously, it's going to be much more effective in the role, and it's going to be safer at the end of the day.
This sounds just exciting.
You have to try it.
It sounds,
You have to
well,
try
it's
it.
not so much, and I want to try it, trust me. To me, I'm so excited about the point that it's something fresh to engage in a young school, and I'm hoping it works that way in grade 6, I'm telling you, I really do, that they get to play with this and give them something to look forward to.
It's also confidence.
Yes.
Like
That's a good
you
point.
know that you can do something. I had a hard time going into these courses because I was so afraid and self-conscious and nervous to not know what I was doing. So being exposed at an earlier age, I'm like, I could maybe do this. I'm not going to be as scared to go into a classroom to try something
And
different.
as a woman, it's even
As a
even
woman, I
worse,
was
right?
terrified.
Because
Great
it's-
point.
Yeah,
I was
there's
going to
like-
go in an auto body
Yeah.
shop and I was the only girl and I was
girl,
too
yeah,
afraid and I didn't
yeah.
do it.
Yeah, we have that too. So we have a lot of courses like that
Yeah.
where girls think, it's not for me. There's too many boys in this class.
Yeah.
But
It's
is,
really
it's tough, yeah.
intimidating. So if you go into it with some kind of knowledge
yeah,
or experience, you feel that much more confident.
Yeah,
for sure.
Good point.
I think this is the next step to what is necessary. And I'm really excited about this. Great to have you today, Shawn. Frank, I'm telling you, always good to see you.
Yeah,
Watch my
Watch your hand.
Thank
Oh,
you.
gosh.
Always good to see you. But we're going to have to keep this going. I want to get into this. I want to try this. And more importantly, I want to see this in schools. I want you, that's the young generation, to attempt to play with this and get in the trades. Pros and cons. We're all going to figure this out, how to get in there, how to make it easier to get in the trades, and how to benefit you for the future. Thank you. If you like the show, check out the episode page on makeitright.ca for more tips. Listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Amazon Music. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode.